Beautiful people, we will get started in just a moment. Let me make sure everything is up and running properly. All right. Good. A couple breaths before we get started. If you're sitting down, I encourage you to take a couple breaths with me to presence yourself. Now, before we get into the meat, I just want to point out that when you change what you focus on, your entire life will radically transform. I've seen friends change their focus and generate over 7 figures in 1 year when the year prior they were barely tipping over the 6-figure mark. I've had clients shift what they focus on, amongst other things as well, and generate more income in 1 month than they've ever generated in like 3 months combined. Back whenever I used to work with fitness and nutrition clients, I would help these men and women change their focus and get more results with their aesthetic transformation in 1 month than they've been able to make in 3-5 years by themselves. And it's really simple. And what I'm going to do today is walk you through the process of changing what you focus on and having the awareness that what you focus on determines your entire life. I want to say that one more time. What you focus on right now, doesn't matter what you focused on yesterday, but what you focus on right now determines your entire life. So it might be wise to focus our mind like our life depended on it, because it does. So there are a couple talking points that I want to walk us through today. So you might see me kind of glare off to the side where I've written these points, but most of this is going to be channeled, okay? Which means I will be breathing and I will just kind of allow whatever to come through. Although there's a couple talking points that I want to make sure I touch upon. If anything that I share with you throughout this video, if it resonates, if it speaks to you, if you have an aha moment, just comment down below. Let me know what it was. Let me know what your takeaways are. Let's turn this into a dialogue. Talking point numero uno. I want to talk about how your current reality has been manifested. We have to have this foundational understanding of how reality manifests itself in order to really become aware of and realize the power of focusing your mind. So the way your current reality has been manifested is really the accumulation, the byproduct of what you were focusing on in the past. Because whatever you focus on with your mind, it's going to generate a frequency from your spiritual body, if you will, for lack of a better way of saying it. And whatever you radiate from your spiritual body as a byproduct of whatever you focus on with your mind, that's going to send out waves that will be reciprocated by the energy that is in absolutely everything in this universe. And as I'm sure you've heard before, like attracts like. You cannot experience anything that you are not vibrating in accordance to. You can't. It will be outside of your vision. It will be outside of your realm of the potential of what you can experience. You can only experience what you vibrate as. And so your current reality is the reflection of what you were focusing on in the past. So if things are going really well for you, or if things aren't going really well for you, it's the byproduct of not what you were focusing on now, but what you were focusing on in the past. Because the crystallization of your present is more or less the reflection of the past. Hopefully that makes sense. I know this is starting to get really vague, but if you're willing to stick with me, this is going to become very practicable. So when we have this understanding of how reality manifests itself, and it's just the crystallization of whatever we were focusing on, because whatever we focus on generates this frequency that radiates from our spiritual body. When you know this, then when you think about, okay, I want to change my life, you realize that before you move around certain pieces, before you move your body and take physical action, it's very wise to start with what we focus on in order to manipulate what we radiate, or in order to change what we radiate. And before we begin to change whatever we radiate and change what we focus on, I personally believe it is paramount that we identify the mind viruses we've been tolerating. In other words, let's identify what we've been focusing on that has created this current experience that I want to break through. Or there are certain pieces that I want to break through. Perhaps we're thriving in our relationship, but we're not thriving in the business, vice versa, right? We can use a lot of examples there. But we have to, before changing what we focus on, get clear with what we've been focusing on, so that if it happens to present itself a few weeks from now, we're a bit more sensitive to it because we're aware of it, right? It's no longer in the dark. We've shined a light on it. We've become aware of its appearance so that it won't be able to trick us in the future. So I wrote, identify the mind viruses. And this is just basic self-inquiry. You can journal to the question, what have I been focusing on lately? What do I believe to be true? What have I focused on that has created the circumstance that I want to transmute? And just be real, be honest with yourself. We will have a really, really difficult time transforming our lives if we don't accept, or if we don't become aware of the mind viruses, the lack beliefs. So spend some time reflecting on that. And once you've kind of created this list of, well, I've been focusing on how if I make a lot of money with my business, that means I'm taking advantage and manipulating people. Or if I want to charge a lot of money, it means not many people will be able to work with me, or whatever it is that you believe, right? If you just jot that down, you write it down, and it's really black and white, and it's in front of you now. Before you can begin focusing on something new, again, from personal experience. And if this doesn't resonate, then drop it, right? But if it does resonate, then integrate it. From personal experience, we have to learn to, this sounds so cliche, we have to learn how to surrender and love the lack beliefs that we've been focusing on. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, they've served us in some capacity. They've allowed us to remain in our comfort zone. They've allowed us to not be very expressive with our big vision or whatever it is, right? It's all very different for each individual, but they have served us. So let's love them and let's surrender to them. Let's stop fighting them, right? It feels like whenever people try to change their life, they're just like fighting their old beliefs. They're just fighting. They're trying to overcome their old belief. When if you were to surrender to it and just like, if there's this tug of war of the new me, I've got to win, and the old me just keeps pulling. Well, what happens if you surrender? You stop fighting, you let go of the rope. You just let go of the tug of war rope. Immense freedom energetically. This is all vague stuff, right? It's not very black and white practical things, which is why a lot of people have a hard time with it. Because we're always trying to make sense of things. You see, there's some things that just don't make sense. And the idea of letting go of that tug of war rope, surrendering to the thoughts, doesn't make sense. But if you just try it on energetically, just for a moment, just to see what it's like, perhaps for the first time in a really long time, you'll feel, oh, whoa, this is cool. Which reminds me of a quote. I have to bring this up on my phone. I shared it with my mastermind this morning. I actually posted it on social media already. We do not get far unless we let go. Coming back to that analogy of the tug of war, so many people go about change as if this is the new me and I'm trying to pull against the old me, which is trying to pull. You ain't going to get very far. If you're really committed, if you're really disciplined and you're really focused and you're mentally tough, yeah, you'll be able to fucking pull that old self for quite some time. And it can be really, really rewarding. However, it's still a fight. And you're not going to be able to get as far if only you just let go. Then you'd be able to just run without any weight. Just feel into this guidance rather than trying to intellectually understand what I'm saying. There's a massive curse of the gifted, of the intellectual. If you really want to succeed, allow yourself to be dumb. Allow yourself to be stupid. Feel into that. So you've identified the lack beliefs. You've surrendered to them. You've let them go. You've loved them. Now it's time to demand and command the creation of something new. Now it's time to put all of your energy, all of your attention on what you want to focus on. So ask yourself, perhaps you already know the answer, perhaps you'll need to kind of sit in some silent meditation or just journal. But ask yourself, what's my highest path? What do I want to focus on? What do I want to build? What do I want to step into and create? It's a lot easier to identify what that is after you've let go of the old self. Otherwise, it's going to be clouded with what the old self think is possible. But if you let go of the old self, then you for the first time, wake up to the true potential that's always been there. It's just been clouded, right? So what is the highest path? What do I really want? You might have to drop into some silence and some stillness to awaken to this, but it is there. You're not going to find it outside of you. You might read something that reminds you of what's already been there, but it's not going to come from outside. And something I'll point out here, especially to the spiritual folk, when you sit into meditation and you ask yourself, what do I really, really want? What excites me the most? What do I want to create and step into? A lot of spiritual folk, they notice it and it really like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. And then they get into this tug of war, to use that example again. They get into this analytical mode of, is this vision coming from spirit? Is it coming from my higher self, or is it coming from my ego? And what I want to encourage is, don't even worry about where it's coming from. Don't even worry about where it's coming from. If you notice something that feels really exciting, really empowering and aligning, just go down that path. If it's coming from the egoic side of you, you'll find out real quick. You'll find out really, really quick. But don't even worry about where it's coming from. This isn't advice that I can share to everyone. But to people who are already like heart-centered, they've already done months or years of kind of clarifying themselves, then don't stress where the vision's coming from. Just go. If I said the same thing to my friends who are sitting outside of 7-Eleven all day, that would be very dangerous. So notice what the highest path is. And if you're interested in this outline that I'm walking you through, if you want more clarity with like questions that I encourage you to kind of rest with or marinate in, just comment down below the word questions and I'll send you the notes here so you can kind of perhaps make this more practicable and actionable, or you can just rewatch this a few times. So you've identified the lack belief, you've loved it, and you've let them go. You've let the viruses go. You've dropped the war. You've dropped the rope, right? You've identified what your highest path is. Third thing we need to do now is, well, according to this highest path, what do I need to focus on in order to crystallize this vision, in order to make sure my 3D world aligns with what I know to be true for me? What do I need to focus on? What are the beliefs that I need to focus on in order to achieve and fulfill this desire of mine? Perhaps it's, I need to focus on that I'm worthy of success. Or I need to focus on how there's so many opportunities around me, so many opportunities. Perhaps I need to focus on the action that I'm going to take every single day to make progress towards this vision. Perhaps I need to focus on the energetic state of the healthiest, the wealthiest version of myself. But the principle here is, what do you need to focus on to effortlessly achieve your goal? And to have fun all the while. It's not negate the importance of fun and enjoying the journey. And then from there, knowing that you can literally manipulate your reality. You can literally manipulate your reality by shifting what you focus on. Knowing this, let us be relentless with what we choose to focus on. Let us make the commitment now to not tolerate a lack belief, to not tolerate trying to overcome a lack belief and just drop it now. Well, what about tomorrow? What if the lack belief comes up tomorrow? Same process, drop it. If it comes up, which it probably will, just drop it the moment you notice it. That's why it's so important to notice it in the beginning, so that when it kind of brings its head up, you've identified what the head looks like, what the eyeballs look like. So that when it comes up, drop it now. And then it comes up again in 30 minutes. Drop it now. And the better you get at dropping it, the less it tries to come up. Do not tolerate lack beliefs. Love them, but don't tolerate them. It's a big difference there. Love them, but don't tolerate them. I suppose it might be kind of like raising children, although I've never done it, so it might not be the best analogy. Let's say you don't want your child to litter, right? And you see your child litter. You don't not love them anymore. You love them, but you don't allow them to continue to litter, and you instruct that they go pick it up. Something like that. It's that easy to raise children, right? I'm just teasing. Focus your mind like your life depends on it. A huge component to being able to focus your mind intelligently and successfully is to be surrounded by other people who are committed to focusing on their dream life and becoming the best version of themselves. Which is why I've created a free community of like-minded people who are all committed to focusing their mind like their life depends on it. It's a free community. If you're interested in being a member of this community, just comment down below the word community and I'll send you an invitation. I'll take a few more breaths here to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. The moment you take back your focus, you stop being a victim to life. You start generating and creating a much better experience for yourself. And a lot of people will be able to reap the benefits of you creating your best life. So allow yourself to be a bit selfish in that regard. And the subtitle, Becoming a Magnet for Wealth, is the byproduct of, if it aligns for you, focusing on attracting and generating more wealth into your life. Something that I personally like to do to focus my mind, amongst many things, but something that I really like is using the app. It's a free app called ThinkUp. You can't really, ThinkUp right there. And you can record your own affirmations and you can just have them on loop over and over and over again. And for me personally, it really helps for me to focus my mind. Another thing that really helps is silent meditation. being present so that I become more sensitive of the lack beliefs, right? So that they don't stay there for a long time and like really create roots. They'll come up. Hell yeah, they'll come up. But they ain't creating roots because I'm sensitive to them. So I'm able to kind of spray the weed killer on them very fast before they've populated. It's incredible what you're able to create and experience once you become, the word that comes up for me, it's not the best word, but once you become obsessive with your focus, life becomes a lot more enjoyable. How far can you take your focus? And just no longer tolerating lack belief. And if you're just tuning in now, make sure you go back to the very beginning of this because I walk you through the very important process of first identifying what the lack belief is. Otherwise, it's going to remain in the dark and it will be able to kind of spread its seed, so to speak. What are you focusing on right now? Comment down below. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, the greatest thing you can do is to share it. Click that little share button, copy, paste the link, send it to your friends, your family, post it on social media. Doing so would mean the world to me. It's the only way this message will get out. And humbly speaking, I believe it's a message that's really important. Most media today is trying to derail your focus because if there's so many things going on in the mind's really scattered. You are very susceptible to not great things. I love you all. Until next time, peace.